Welcome to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy-looking Nerf herders. This is a live streaming video podcast by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans, and today we're going to be continuing our reviews of novels, because that's what we do now, I guess, with Star Wars Return of the Jedi.
Not exclusively.
And I wasn't saying that in a bad way.
If we get a good movie.
I am fucking excited for the next book in the series. I don't even know what it is. I don't give a fuck what it is, but god damn it, this has been so much fun.
So much more fun than I honestly expected it to be. I thought this was just going to be like, okay, beat for beat, this is what the movie was.
No.
And every single novel is different.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's the thing I was talking to one of my buddies about yesterday. I was like, dude, like, seriously, whenever you get a chance, like, let me know. I'll let you borrow this shit. It is insane. Because they're the movies that we know, but they're so vastly different. Like, the first one, it's an earlier draft of the first movie. So it feels very, very much like a screenplay adapted into a novel.
Yeah.
The second one is just batshit fucking crazy. Like, it's an empire that none of us have ever seen. And this one, it was fucking poetic as hell.
Yeah.
Like, the author just, holy shit. Like, you talk about painting a fucking picture with words. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, for real. And the thing is they're not big novels. Like, none of them are expansive or even the size of a small pulp novel, which is usually around 350 pages or something. These are all half that or a little more than at best.
Clive Barker, like, the last book that we read for a different channel was longer than this. Like, I think this one, Return of the Jedi, was like 140 pages or 146, somewhere around there. Like, that's barely a fucking novel.
It's crazy because you're reading it and you're like, visualizing in your mind, oh, I remember this on screen, and it just adds so much more color and context to it, especially when you get into the parts that are dramatically different, like Jabba the Hutt. Like, he's not dramatically different, but like, he once had hair.
It's there's that's the thing I was noticing with this one. It's not as starkly contrasting as Empire. Like, Empire, Yoda's fucking blue.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
And he had long hair.
Yeah. But it's like, with this one, there was a little bit of difference from the movie, but it's like the biggest difference was the fact that it went into detail of certain scenes. Like, the one, well, okay, there's two that really stand out, like, before we get into it. For me, it's the fact that carbonite enclosement, like, that's
my gosh,
fucking beyond terrifying.
It's a nightmare.
Like, that, okay, it's already scary enough to begin with, like, and we all know this. Like, that, obviously, it seems terrifying. Like, that's prison, but you don't even get an hour in the rec fucking area a day. Like, it's just literally, you're stuck in your own mind. It's very similar to, if you guys have read Revan, which if you haven't, you fucking should, his imprisonment at the end of the novel. But the way that Han was describing it, it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I would rather kill myself than deal with that shit. I would rather cut my own dick off than deal with that shit. Like, that's fucking terrifying.
I had always assumed it was like you blacked out, you know, your body shuts down. And so when he said that you're still aware and you're just trapped in your mind.
Dude, that's...
it's like, haunting.
There's certain... we'll say medications that I don't do just because I'm so fucking scared of being in my own mind to begin with. Like, I don't like that thing at all. So the idea of being trapped like that, and that's literally it. Like, you only have your mind. Like, that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And then, the other thing that really stands out is the whole Vader and Palpatine. Like, they, like, initially I was joking about it in the beginning of the book, that it's a lifestyle type of relationship. Like, Palpatine's a dom, Vader's a sub. But as the book progresses, it is straight up a fucking well, not proper, it's actually really toxic, but it's a fucking dom and sub relationship. Like, in every fucking sense of the word. I'm pretty sure they fuck. The way this book is, like, holy shit.
I don't know about that.
No, dude, right fucking here. All right, so I didn't write down the whole thing because I don't know why I didn't. But Vader and Palpatine's relationship, I'd straight up say, oh my God. Okay, this must have been at like 2 a.m. because it doesn't make sense. But it's straight up a dom relationship. And I quote from the book, like, Vader mentally going over what the relationship is, secret lusts, unrestrained passion, wild submission. It's like, that's
okay.
and it's
Okay.
head to toe in leather.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah, and this was the 80s, so
yeah. Yeah.
This was the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 of the Star Wars saga.
Man, honestly, I'd probably go more with Hellraiser 3.
Nice.
Dude, this is way more the Hellraiser 3 of the Star Wars saga.
So funny. So this was published May 12th, 1983 by Del Rey. It was written by James Kahn. And what I love about George Lucas is that he admits he doesn't really have like a full scope handle on everything. And so he lets other creatives kind of play in the playground. And he'll take ideas that they throw out, and then sometimes he'll reject them because he wants to develop different ones later on. Like, for example, we get some information about the rise of Palpatine in this that was never in the film. And like, it was, it's sort of the prequel material in like, I don't know, what do you call that? Cliff notes. I mean, it's really great stuff. So you get a very intense view of Lando Calrissian doing everything through like a poker player's thought process.
Dude, God damn it, that was so.
It was great. Like every calculation that he made, and from the very beginning. Because let's admit, this film / book is broken into two basic parts. There's getting Han Solo and then destroying the second Death Star, and the whole time we get the sly calculation of Lando Calrissian for every single maneuver along the way. And you didn't have to do it. You could easily have exited out because it didn't add anything substantive to the story, but it added depth to the character, which if you like Lando Calrissian at all, and I just happen to know that maybe 2 people on this podcast have his underwear.
Right.
And we have photos to prove it, which will never see the light of day. But
it should, man. It really should. I think everybody should see that shit. But we should like blur out our faces so they don't realize that it's us.
Yeah. It might be palatable that way. I just imagine like, because his neighbors came a knocking like right after.
Oh my God, I fucking forgot about that.
So I wonder if they were watching through the window. They're like, should we knock? Look what's happening here.
Yeah.
So gross.
So good.
What are we talking about again? Okay, so the novel. And so like there's a whole scene with Princess Leia's background that was eventually cut by George Lucas because he wanted to develop it in some other way, which I don't think he ever actually did. Did he?
I don't honestly know. Because it's hard to tell what is Uncle George and what's not, because that's how you build a fucking empire. You gather up all the best of the creatives and just feed off of them. Like that's what he would do, is he would have an idea and be like, here's this. And then somebody else who's way better at what they do than he will ever be runs with it. And then he's like, yeah, obviously I'm going to put my name on this. And that's how he built a fucking empire. That's, almost 40 fucking years.
Yeah.
And, so it's hard to say with the stuff that we got in like the expanded universe, Legends, what was him as opposed to what was somebody else. Because we did get a lot of different Leia things, even like straight up like Leia novels. I don't know. I honestly have no idea.
Yeah. That's really what you find amongst the best of authors. They're like, oh, I'm going to, or, just sort of world builders. I'm going to explore this later, so let's put a pin in that. And they may never get back to it, and so someone else then picks up the reins because you just didn't have time. And it's just nice to know that George was constantly involved in every aspect of this IP. Sometimes to his detriment and sometimes to our benefit as fans and audience members, because this novel really came through, and all of these novels come through as it's like Star Wars adjacent. It's like this is the film that you saw slight variations, but then there's this expanded information like interior monologues that we get that you just can't do on film.
No,
and
not
it
at all.
explains the characters so much better and so much more that you get this grander insight. I mean, if you just watch these films of the original Star Wars trilogy, you're walking away going, well, these were great performances by these characters, and these actors really shaped the characters. But if you read the novel, you're like, oh, wow, the actors didn't really have as much involved, or the authors took what the actors were doing and really went off in a whole new direction to give so much more context and concern and care about these characters. Like, I've always been a Lando Calrissian fan. He's a smooth motherfucker in space.
Everybody wants to be him when they grow up, and if they don't, they're wrong.
And I love him more because of this novel. Like,
yeah, man.
I always kind of thought Han Solo was dopey. I like him more because of this particular novel. Like, there's points in this novel where he is straight up realizing he is changed. He's a different person. He's no longer just concerned about himself, and he genuinely cares about Princess Leia. And not in like a manipulation ownership way.
So that scene that you're specifically talking about, it's at the end. It's after the rebels have taken over the bunker, and then of course they get ambushed and shit. And it's as they're coming out and they're trying to get back in to actually destroy everything. You get this beautiful scene of they're under fire, him and Leia, and he's just it's the two of them kind of thinking about the scene, mostly him, but her perspective's in there as well of, he's changed. He's a completely different man because he's only ever gave a shit about himself, and now he'll do anything for her. And, he never deserved love. He never wanted love. And, she was all about giving herself to everything else, but not concerning with herself. And, she didn't deserve to be loved. And how, at least for this moment, like they think they're going to die, but at least for this fucking moment, they have each other. They have the one true love that everybody on Earth hopes for. And words weren't needed to be said. God, I'm getting goosebumps just even fucking talking about it. It's so goddamn good. But yeah, it's like they don't need to say anything to each other. They grab each other's hands, and that is more profound and deep than any fucking poetry that's ever been written in the history of ever. It's so goddamn beautiful.
Yeah, this author really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, man. It's honest. Like reading this, it was like I need to read more James Kahn. Like this is just insane. Because to turn a property that I know very fucking well and to just show it to me in a completely different light that makes it even more profound. Like this, if this was what the movie was, Return would be my favorite.
Yeah.
Period, because this would be the perfect movie.
Yeah.
Especially with the berserker scene at the end. Oh my god. Well, I guess it's not so much the end, but close to the end. That's where I stopped taking notes.
It's wild because the first 2/3 of this novel are great, and they give you extra insight into the film and the different characters involved in it. But as soon as you get to that last third, it's a whole nother picture.
Damn it.
Like this goes into detail about the inner like mind workings of the final battle scene from the ground on the Forest Moon of Endor and the space battle and Luke Skywalker. Like this is the version of Luke Skywalker that's always been my favorite. I've loved this version of him to my core for all of time. And to see him in that moment in the throne room with the Emperor and Vader, we're getting insight into Vader's mind going, we are going to turn him to the dark side, and then I am going to join with him. He's not quite ready to destroy the Emperor, but we're going to kill that motherfucker, and together we're going to rule the galaxy.
Yeah.
Like there's so much inner monologue about that concept and Vader's calculations on when to hold back, when to press forward, when he's just fed up and lost control with Luke, and Luke doing his best to keep to his core about what it is to be a Jedi and what he's been trained, and just the Emperor's sadistic way of just capturing every thought in your head and pulling it right out, no matter how hard you're trying to hide it, and capitalize on it. And it presents the Emperor in this almost like, I mean, he is a supervillain, but like this, you can never get beyond him way. So, but then he's terrified.
This is what Snoke was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But they could not successfully deliver it. Like even the lines of like, you can't hide anything from me. I can see your thoughts. I can see your feelings.
So good.
Like that, it was almost verbatim what Snoke said, but coming out of fucking Andy Serkis's mouth, and that whatever the fuck that thing was, not good. This was just like, this is the greatest fucking thing ever.
It's so goddamn good.
Yeah.
So just, I have my notes, you have your notes about just little moments that sort of stuck out to you. We all know the story, so we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to go over the story at all, because if you don't know it, then why are you watching this channel?
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's
like, please turn this off, watch the movie, then come see us.
Yeah, actually, even better, go watch the movie, read the book, then come back, because then we'll all make.
God damn it! Like seriously, if you want to just, like, I was so fucking pumped at the end. Like, I finished it last night. And I was probably pretty close to like 2:30 when I finished it. And I had to take a half an hour to fucking wind down, because I was just ready to like karate chop some shit, or like I was so excited.
Yeah. I do get that like sort of 80s pump vibe.
Yeah, straight.
It was weird. I don't know how to explain it, but hey, Chris, how you doing? You thought the most surprising thing about this novel was that there was an entire chapter explaining why Han needed to fondle Princess Leia. I'm not sure I remember that exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember that chapter, but I definitely want to read that
one. I do love how he's constantly thinking about how he's changed and how he cares so much and how he's making a real genuine effort. And well, even like he finds himself engaging behavior that is so anathema to who he used to be that it surprises him. And he's like, oh my gosh, I really have grown. He has like these weird moments of awareness. I love that C-3PO in this novel is at a place where he's like, why are we putting up with these mortals? Like, what is it about these flesh people that we are constantly put into like harm's way because of these people? Why don't we just like not listen to them?
I love that shit. Like when they're like, R2, come on, we fuck this, we're getting the fuck out of here. And just like take off mid-battle. It's like, that should have happened way sooner. Like that's kind of C-3, like that seems like how C-3PO would be. So the fact that it took this many books to get into it, like to get him to do that, it's funny.
I like how, I mean, we've always commented about how it's great that the droids are not just these one-note servants, that they do actually develop this sense of not just personality, but almost ego, and have this autonomy of thought and behavior. And to see that reflected in the core droids, which has typically just been used for like a slapsticky comment. I actually really appreciate about this more than the past ones, because we always get that dynamic between C-3PO and R2-D2, but this one, for some reason, C-3PO felt like a little bit more, I don't know, separate than he used to be. Especially like at the Ewok scene, which the Ewok scene was expanded out.
Damn, not only expanded out, but way fucking better than the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I really could not get over the fact that like the final battle on Endor, it's Chewie being like, all right, boys, let's fuck some shit up. And they're just running around just scrapping motherfuckers. Like, I want that, like, redo the fucking movie and give me that. Or fucking just give me that. I'll sit down for 2 hours and watch that. Like, them just throwing motherfuckers around, throwing each other at motherfuckers. Like, that was a straight up
like Chewie Unleashed.
Yeah, no, they were straight up like, they all hit berserker mode.
Yeah.
And they were like, ah! Yeah. God damn it. That was cool. And then fucking Wicket. Holy shit.
Yeah.
He's a fucking philosopher.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, when they're doing the talk at the end to see if they're gonna help.
Yeah. They had to convince these Ewoks to help.
Oh my God, it's like
didn't.
That character was not the same Wicket in the fucking movie at all. Now, I mean, of course, there's the issue with the translation and shit, because we never got like subtitles for them.
Yeah.
It was always 3PO translating, and that's a beautiful aspect about the book, is we don't need that. We can read their thoughts and all that shit. But yeah, man, that shit was crazy.
Oh, it was so good. And I love as soon as they agreed finally to actually help the rebels, like there's this huge tickle fight scene.
Yeah.
Between Chewbacca and a bunch of fucking...
Yeah, it's like, okay, you want to befriend a Wookiee? Tickle fight. It's like, that's, of course.
I want that meme so bad.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, man. That was one of those things, like, I wrote down a separate note because I want to draw that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so hilarious. The connection that Chewie had with these Ewoks was like next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Goldenrod had his sort of God mode,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't really even have confidence in himself for that much.
Mm-hmm.
But Chewie was just like, hey, other furry people? Fuck yeah, let's get down. Let's party.
Yeah. It's like they
Awesome.
tickle fought for a second, and he's like, all right, I'm one of you now.
Let us eat. Another aspect of this that was, I think, infinitely better than the actual movie was Leia's awakening to the Force, and how she didn't realize what it was that she was awakening to, but we knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that fucking barge scene, holy shit. Like, I mean, it's the exact same thing as the movie.
Yeah.
But you get that subtext, or the subtleness of, you know, she's going with all her strength, but it's not enough, but she finds more, and it's like, God, yes, that's the Force. Oh,
it reminded me, because I just watched the series Echo, and there's a scene in it where it's like Kingpin v this young girl, and I'm like, that's the most ridiculous pairing, because just size alone, he would crush her.
Vincent D'Onofrio is fucking terrifying.
I really think he's like perfect. I really like him as an actor.
Yeah, man. I've hated a lot of Marvel shit, like modern Marvel shit, but as soon as they brought him and Daredevil back, it's like, all right, I'll give this a shot again, because like, fucking amazing.
Yeah, the original Daredevil series was great, I thought.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. But I mean, I guess my point was that Leia facing off against Jabba there's no universe where she wins. She cannot win. But we get these moments in her mind where she is tapping into something that she doesn't understand, but we know as, oh, she's Luke's sister. She is Vader's daughter. She is ingrained in the Force, and she's tapping into the Force in order to do this. It wasn't a leverage issue. It wasn't she just used a chain and the slug couldn't do anything. Like the novel presented it very differently than on screen did it. And it was deserved and earned, and it gave Leia so much more autonomy and power than even the film, I thought, did. She is a fucking badass. And that, I think, the greatest moment of all of the sequel trilogies is that moment of her training with Luke in the forest and then beating Luke.
Yeah, man.
And us going, yeah, that would have fucking happened, because she was stronger than Luke, but she rejected training in EU because she wanted to focus on the political side and trying to bind the galaxy, I guess, together.
He kept trying to make her a fucking master because she was a goddamn master. But she's like, nah, that's one less thing I need. You do it. That's your thing.
Yeah. It's just so great. And then there's that theme the whole time is like, Luke has so much weight on his shoulders. The rebellion is like, we can't do this without you, man. And he's like, but you can. Like, I have like knowledge that is not just me. Like, my sister could actually be the next one. And she's like rejecting it because she wants to be a part of this other aspect of it. But you don't need me. I'm just trying to redeem my fucking family. Like, I don't know what to do. There's so much weight on my shoulders. I love the dynamic, and I got the Skywalker family vibes from this novel so much more than I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God damn.
Well, and it makes sense too, because with the movie, it's still like, even for the cast at the end of Empire, everybody's like, no, there's no way. This has to be just a ploy. This is a fucking joke. So it's like, until the end of Return, everybody's still just like, ooh, is it a thing? Is it not? But yeah, like with the novel, they could easily just be like, well, yeah, obviously they're a fucking family. Here's the dynamic. It's so goddamn good.
Yeah. Little notes like the Gamorrean guards as a species having like this racial animosity to droids. Okay.
Yep. Never saw that.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I love when they throw little tiny things like that in because it just builds the universe out in awesome ways.
And like the Jawas being vicious.
Yeah.
Like the Jawas were guards at fucking Jabba's place. It's like, no. In what universe? And it's like,
So
well, I mean, I
funny.
guess they are scrappy and they have weapons.
Yeah, I know a Jawa that's pretty scrappy.
That's true. I have been taken down by that Jawa before. That is true. Fucking hell of a hook.
I put Jana, but I meant Jabba in my notes. That's funny. Jabba lost his hair from disease. I want to imagine what kind of hair did Jabba have before he lost it because of disease. What did he look like? Was it like a Jufro? Was he like a Harlem Globetrotter hairdo? Or was it like flowing locks?
Oh shit! All right. Hey, I found your notes. I'm like, where did you write these down?
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
Yeah, we're looking at two different spots.
I just love that so much. It's just like, wait a second, did he have a goatee like Warwick Davis in the film or in the TV series of Willow?
Oh,
the evil Warwick.
Yeah, it's a good thing that he got whatever fucking disease he had and got rid of that shit. That was awful to look at. That's why they fucking destroyed it and why it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with writers or royalties. It was that facial hair.
Yeah. It made a big deal in this about how Boba was such a badass about catching Han, and I instantly wrote the note like, no, he didn't. That's bullshit. It was all Vader all day. Like Boba traced him to Cloud City because he's a smart motherfucker, but he didn't capture him.
No,
no, at all. I don't think he could.
There.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating for Boba to get this, and like we got a glimpse of the version of Boba that would have been able to capture him in The Mandalorian, but then he just sort of went a totally different direction.
Yeah,
in his
then
own
he
show.
went not good. I don't even know how to put it.
That took a way crazy turn. Another little note that I read and then I stopped and I reread. I was like, did they really write this?
Yep.
Max Rebo, he's the purple elephant.
Blue elephant.
Blue elephant organist or pianist. But they reference him as like I don't know if they use the word player, but it was like performer or something, but it was a jizz performer.
Yeah, man, that's one of the most popular well-rounded musical genres of the Star Wars universe is jizz music.
Okay.
Like that's
all right.
Like labeled in a lot of things.
All right.
So, yeah, it's jizz is a
not jazz.
No, not jazz, because jazz is from Earth.
Jizz
is from space.
Right. It certainly seems alien when I gift it to people. They're like, no, what? No. Really
no, Chris. He definitely did not get better final battle in the novel.
No, it was still totally earned though. The whole time, like Han was like, "Wait, what happened? He did what? Awesome." He was like, he deserved it, that dick.
Yeah.
He put me in hell. Oh gosh, that carbonite was great. All right, do you want to do one of your notes?
Yeah, let's let me go back up to my shit. So the Bausch interaction, like that was way more intense. Like just like that's the thing about this novel, just in general, like going through most of my stuff, it is that's fucking funny. Sorry, I'm looking and we both wrote down the same thing. Like the greatest line in a Star Wars book. God damn, it's so good. But yeah, so like it was just a lot more intense. Like she was gonna fuck shit up and she was ready to take herself out and everybody else. But yeah, I guess, I mean, the next thing would be the line. It's,
so
you know, Jabba's straight up talking to Luke and is like, I was killing Jedi, you know, like way before you're even
meant something.
Yeah, when it meant something, that's it.
So good.
So I didn't actually write down the line. I just said the line about Jabba killing Jedi when it meant something was pretty boss. But yeah, it was.
It was a mic drop moment for Jabba.
It was.
Because
it absolutely was.
It puts him in a infinitely stronger position than I ever thought of him. You know, I thought crime bosses, you don't have to do the heavy lifting. That's why you have bounty hunters and sycophants. They're the ones that go out and do this shit. And arguably, that's probably still what happened. But he was making hits on Jedi when they were badasses. You're not a badass, Luke. You're a pretending child. And it was just like, oh, shit. Talking shit to Luke. was great. I loved it so much. And it was the most boss line of the whole fucking novel. Like, we got a lot of lines in this that were endearing, insightful, powerful, but that was like a shit talk line amongst the best that has ever been created for Star Wars. Full stop.
That was him just pulling his dick out, slapping on the table and saying, "Really? You want to compare, boy? Good luck."
Yeah. And then Slice Noodles like jumping on that shit or something. Like, fucking, I was trying to think of the name of the Quacky Monkey Lizard, and
Salacious Crumb.
Salacious Crumb jumps on it. Thanks. I love Salacious Crumb so much. He's so
man.
In this, it was a little different. Like the relationship. I didn't make a note on it, but I remember reading it. I was like, "Huh, that's slightly different than I would have thought."
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like almost like he like fed at the scraps of Jabba. And I didn't get that vibe in the film. I just thought he was hanging out.
Yeah, same, and especially after, and I understand it's not canonical, so it doesn't matter, but especially after reading from a certain point of view,
right.
Like getting that out there, because it takes him from being a pet to being a sentient creature.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a very weird dynamic in this. Like, it just felt like he was like a fucking bug or something almost.
Yeah.
Or a parasite. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly. It was weird. Really, really weird. Let's see. For my notes, the next one was reading Han's gratitude and no longer being alone. I just loved the character development in that. I don't think we ever really saw it. We saw his actions on screen to that effect. But getting him, and we already spoke to it a little bit, getting him in his head and hearing how he has actually changed, it just endeared me to that character so much more, and I loved it. I just watched that that hero documentary that was released about God damn it, Harrison Ford when he did the new indie film, and they like went through like his whole history of playing these different characters for George Lucas, and it just made me love Harrison Ford as an actor even more, and the care and concern he puts into it, and then to reflect on his performance of Han Solo with that knowing, sort of behind the scene understanding of him as an actor, and then compounded with the inner monologue, it all fits up to the seamless character that he really didn't actually know when he was performing Han Solo. This was all written, probably before that was ever nailed down. And it still paid homage to the version of Han Solo that he created, but then gave it a depth so that you could just on the surface, like I've said for years, Han Solo's a dumbass, lucky fucking guy. But really, he's an insightful, like fully actualized human. Yeah. It just took 3 movies and 3 novels to get there. But we wrote a whole Han Solo trilogy, and he still wasn't quite there yet. But this put him in that place, and I really, really appreciated it for that.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was so damn good.
So considering the second Death Star and Ewoks were recycled ideas, was the original story was still done so well that it works beautifully? Yeah, I mean, well, 100% they were recycled ideas. The Death Star, I get this complaint a lot from everyone, really, even Star Wars fans, where they're like, well, why did he make another bigger Death Star? Like, he used the first one, and it was incredibly effective.
Yeah.
He blew up a fucking planet. Why wouldn't he make another one?
Yeah.
Like, it works. It's a proven entity.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like you have literally all the resources the galaxy has to offer. Why the fuck wouldn't you? Especially because he's a narcissist. Like, he wants to build this big monument to himself that not only is just a shining light in the galaxy, but it's the death of a lot of the galaxy. Like, nobody can act out of line because once this is fully made, you're fucked. Yeah. He's in complete control.
And the devious control he has.
And it's one of those things that, of course, like as Star Wars fans, we understand that Death Star 2 is bigger than the original Death Star. I don't feel like you get that in the movies. Like, you don't really get the scale of it, but in this, you absolutely fucking do. Yeah. Like, that whole like run going in, that. So, all things aside, with the sequel trilogy, um, was it? It was the second one where they went into that sort of like ice-looking cavern in the Millennium Falcon, wasn't it? Or was that the first one?
I think that was the first one.
Okay, so like that, like the level of claustrophobia, as well as like the obstacles and all that stuff, like the feeling of that, I never really got in Return, but in this, I got that to the nth degree, like way more intense, and like that's one of the great things about the novel is the level of consequences. Like, of course, you see the good guys die in all the movies because that's real life. Yeah. But in this, it's like you feel it, like as people are checking out and the sacrifices that they made. And yeah, I know that started off with the Death Star comparison, but yeah, man, it's just like I can't get over how real this shit felt.
Yeah, and that's what I think. And I don't know why it worked better for me in a novel form than it did in like visual stimulus, sort of film form. But you feel the loss of the tertiary characters more in the novels than I ever did in the film. In the film, it was like, oh, that's just an extra. Extras die. That's what happens. In the novel, these are human beings that are doing everything they can to stand against an insurmountable odds. And when you lose one, you know how few there are, and it means something. It was so much more, it had so much more gravity in it. And yeah, that flight into the Death Star, even the preparing to go into it, it was so daunting.
That was intense. Well, and once the Death Star powered up and started popping capital ships, shit, like, God. That was intense because that's when Akbar's like, fuck this.
Yeah, he was ready to fucking run, and it was Lando that made him stay.
Yeah, like Lando was the real fucking champion of that battle.
100%.
I mean, of course, he was the hero because he's the one that blew up the second Death Star. But in this, he was like, no, he was the hero of the fucking rebellion.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like the most seasoned generals and higher ups were like, we're fucked. And he's like, fuck you. No, we're not. Turn around, bitch.
His faith in Han was so great that against facing literal annihilation of the entire rebellion, he's like, Han's going to do it. He's going to pull it out. That motherfucker is so lucky. He stole this ship from me. He can pull it off. We have to do this. Like, let's just do some crazy shit. Like, get within feet of those Star Destroyers. And Akbar was like, are you out of your goddamn mind?
And he's like, yeah, they'll never expect it. They won't know what to do. And they don't know that we don't know what to do. They will assume we know what to do because we're doing it.
The best gambler, like this sort of the gambler mentality. Like, they don't know that we don't know. So let's play to that. They think that we're going to know, and they're going to be like, what the fuck's happening? He's totally gambling the entire rebellion on his whim of a thought. Yeah. It was so good. Lando's the best.
And yeah, like you were saying earlier, like the whole, the introspection of it being like him looking at everything as a fucking hand of Sabak
calculating
or whatnot.
Odds and shit.
That's just like, God, it's so good. Yeah, hell yeah, man. Chris, I fucking love Wedge. Like that's me saying, hey, Adam, I'm ready. Every fucking time it's always Wraith 1 standing by. Like, I fucking love Wedge Antilles.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
He's such a badass.
And you don't get as much like he gets his moment in the film, but it's super brief. In the novel, I feel like it's a lot more there. Like he gets more of a, like he's with Lando. They tell the other people to get off and get away, but he's there. He's in.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, man.
Fucking the genius of the Emperor, I thought really shone through in this. I mean, it was great in the film when he was like, this is all going as I planned. Come here, young Skywalker, my new apprentice. Watch as your fledgling rebellion is destroyed. Everything you did was meaningless. That first Death Star, who gives a fuck? I just lured you all in, and I'm going to crush you on the ground and in the air. And he calls the Death Star, I can't remember the commander of the Death Star's name, right? Jar Jarrod?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. He was like, if that shield goes down, destroy Endor. And he's like, sir, we have a whole battalion down there. He's like, do it. And
well, like, that's the thing, too. It's like he he doesn't even like yell at him or anything.
Yeah.
And it even specifically says that in that part. He's like, he whispers it, but somehow that is more intense than if he was to be angry and yell about it.
Yeah.
And it's like Jared Gerard just is like, okay, fuck me. I got you, Captain.
And to the end, he followed it.
Yep.
Like he did his best to follow that order to the very, very end.
Everybody is fucking kicking rocks because they know they're fucked. The
so
shield's
great.
down. There's ships in there getting ready to blow it the fuck up. So everybody's like, fuck this. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking do this. Damn it.
That little controller guy, his like underling, he was like, I need you to redirect it to the shield generator. We're gonna destroy Endor. He's like, here's the controller. Peace out, dude.
Yeah, I love that.
And Jared Rod's just like, I'm gonna kill you all. You
Yeah,
just knew that. I wish
So
we
good.
got that on the screen because that would have been amazing.
Oh yeah.
Just like that weird last Nazi in a bunker trying his best to follow through with their Führer's fucking wishes, and he just gets fucked. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the best.
And they were so close too. So close.
They really were. And again, we had that moment of fire, and they sort of did the whole power up of the Death Star, and then it explodes. But this novel made that so much more intense.
Dude, and that's the crazy thing about this shit. Like, this is a story that I have known for pretty much my entire life. And I've watched the movie countless fucking times. Like, I literally couldn't even begin to like comprehend how many times I've seen it. And to have this story shown to me, and it's the same story, but shown to me in a different light, it's just so insane.
Yeah. Yeah. One little note I had here that everyone respects Luke now. We have to remember, this is the first time Luke is an actual adult. Like in the first two books, like the very first book, Luke is a whiny bitch.
Yeah, he's a fucking snot-nosed 19-year-old kid.
Yeah. In the second book, he's got a little bit of experience under his belt, but he's still totally unexperienced, and he doesn't really know what he's doing, and he abandons his training, forsaking a possible real badass Luke moment, and which I loved so much that they really focused on that in this novel as well. Is that like he recognized his sacrifice, he realized that it was wrong, and he saw the consequences of that sacrifice. But then to get the affirmation that you can do it now because you've trained, you've studied, you've built your lightsaber, and the entire rebellion, they don't see him as that farm boy moisture farmer. He is Jedi. And that is something that hasn't been whispered for 2-3 decades. Like it is forgotten in like modern parlance. They're just like, wow, this guy is like we have to have Luke or there is no rebellion. That's the rebellion's mindset. And I love that so much because it puts so much weight on the character that it then gives the character an opportunity to have all of those doubts that are earned doubts, It's easy to just think, oh, well, you just walked into Jabba's, the biggest crime lord of the galaxy, his home, and fucked everyone up. It's easy to get a little airs, like, oh, I'm a badass. But no, the whole time, he's a grounded human. He's like, I am a Jedi. I understand that I know things, but I'm not there yet, and I'm still trying. Oh, it's so good. I just love it so much.
Yeah, and that is the mentality of a true master.
Yeah. A little bit of like, you're humble. You got to eat a little humble pie from time to time and realize your actual limits, and then continue to strive, continue to fight and try to be better. But that like this faith that everyone has in you is ultimately it's proven to be warranted, but you're not sure about it yet.
You don't know until the outcome.
Oh, it's so great. I love
or
it
until
so
the
much.
end.
I don't know what else do you have in here?
So I mean, just a couple little things. So like, Uncle Owen is Obi-Wan's brother in the fucking book.
What?
Like that blew my mind. It's like,
That doesn't
damn,
track
that's
at
a
all.
very different thing.
That makes the family dynamic really tight.
Yeah, and then it looks like pretty much the last thing I have, and I'll be honest, at this point I was pretty fucking high.
Nah.
So I understood, because I've been there, minus the whole speeder bike crash, like out in the woods and all that shit. But like Leia, the note specifically says Leia has to be high / concussed after the crash, because she starts thinking about the magnitude of life and the creation or the magnitude of life and creation from the size of the trees to thinking of an Ewok as a pudgy midget bear. Like, it's this most profound, beautiful, just like everything is within, like everything within the universe is equal to this forest, to this tree. Like everything is, it's so profound, it's so beautiful. And then she looks at Wicket and is like, and there's a pudgy midget bear. It's like, yeah, no, those two thoughts go together, definitely.
Yeah, it was a very much like a James Cameron sort of Avatar thought process that she was going through, but it is like reality.
Mm-hmm.
I always love the idea that we as a sentient species are connected to every form of life on this planet through our DNA. Every single form, from fungus to fucking squirrels, every single form of life. You go back far enough, we are all connected with the same exact DNA. We just split off in the evolutionary chain from them. But we're still the same connection. All life is the same. And it's why I always rail against vegans, not just because they're annoying cunts, because they are annoying cunts, but also because they ignore the fact that they're murdering life.
Dude, that's so nothing to do with any of this shit, but just funny little story. Like, so I was vegan at one point. I ended up becoming anorexic, like legit stopped eating.
Holy shit.
Because, I went into veganism, under the, a guilty conscience, essentially. Yeah. Like, I'm killing a living animal for this. And then once you start to comprehend, it's like, yeah, everything that you consume was living.
Literally,
might not be sentient or anything,
or and that we understand.
That's an argument for, like, that's a whole different.
That fantastic fungi documentary changed
exactly
everything.
Well, and that's the funny thing is, like, that's how I've essentially, like, I was 15. That was my mindset. Was like, well, obviously everything's living, and there's plants have reactions like defense mechanisms and all that shit. So obviously there is that evolutionary trait in them. So obviously there is some sort of thought process there. So, like, I legit pretty much stopped eating for a while. Jeez. Out of pure guilt, because it's like, I can't kill something just so I can move on. Obviously we know how that story ended. Definitely
you won.
Yeah, I definitely won. I beat anorexia and veganism.
It's always driven me nuts, because it's like, yeah, of course. Like, the realization that Leia comes to is the same thing that I have, and clearly you now, have always thought. And, like, for me, my first awareness was doing a little bit of, smoke a little weed. And that's when I started getting this idea in my head. And then you look into science and reality and you're like, oh yeah, that's real. That's not just my high brain. That's actual reality.
Yeah.
And so, like, you connect those dots and you become this sort of consciously aware thinking entity that can move through life, understanding that your reactions and your actions have consequences, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but there are repercussions for everything that you do in life. And it sort of makes you a more fully self-aware individual, more fully actualized individual, and arguably a more healthy individual ultimately. But for people to see that type of thought process and sort of look down on it or shun it, it just shows that evolution is not always a net positive. like there's a lot of people that should not exist because they're not aware, or they refuse to accept the reality that we are connected with literally everything else, and that murdering other life so that we can exist is a reality and necessary. Otherwise, we cannot exist. I mean, the fucking Lion King told you right from the start, it's a circle of life, and that's how it works. And if you reject that, if you ignore it, you go into some very unhealthy places, sort of manufactured food and synthetics and stuff, which don't give you all the nutrients that you need as a actual, like, living entity.
Yeah.
Leia tapped into that consciousness with just a few lines in the book that spiraled my thinking into the Force and the connection to the Force that George Lucas was really trying to explain from the very beginning. And
and nailed it.
Yeah, so definitely much clearer in just her awareness of Endor trees.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment that convinced Wicket to turn the Ewoks to help the rebellion. Because if you're an Ewok, you're like a pudgy bear on a damn forest planet. This is your whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Who gives a fuck about your empire? They're not going to come down here and fuck with me, except that they do. You just you weren't aware that they would do that. And it's this sort of this vile machine, which, you know, you can spiral out to either human desire to create technology or artificial intelligence, or, you know, you can put it wherever you want to put it in your own mind. But that's what we do as a species. And that, I think, is what George Lucas is commenting on, that we don't have to go in those directions. We can just accept and be, rather than create and destroy, which is what the Empire does.
Yeah.
What are we talking? I haven't even taken my edible yet. Fuck. I need to do that.
Yeah, man. God. This, like, seriously, it's so fucking good, man. Mm-hmm. Like, I cannot get over just, like, so I stopped taking notes after the Berserker battle because I couldn't. Like, I could not put the book down.
It was so good.
There was a moment where I actually stopped reading because I couldn't comprehend that I was actually reading a book. Like, at some point, it just blanked out, and I was literally watching the movie.
Yeah.
And then when I realized that I wasn't consciously reading, I stopped. I looked. I'm like, oh my God, I'm still reading this fucking book. Holy shit. Yeah. It's just, like, I'm not going to say this is one of the best Star Wars novels ever, because there's a lot more that are a lot more meaningful to me. But this is a fucking great book.
Yeah.
Like, it is definitely up there. I mean, it's definitely my favorite out of the trilogy as far as reading them.
Yep.
Man, it was just so good.
Yeah. I mean, I had the exact same reaction that you did. I read a lot of novels. You read a lot of books. Mm-hmm. And I don't always get that sort of imagination spillover where I don't feel like I'm reading anymore and I'm just seeing. Mm-hmm. This definitely, I was seeing it, and it could just be my connection to the source material or whatever, but it was like a different level of reading, and like just seeing those space battles, because we've seen the film so many goddamn times, and even though there's new information that sort of pulls you out of that visual aspect of it, you're still sort of engrossed in this universe that is on the page. It transcends the reading and visual spectacle in a wonderful way. I remember there's this moment, this is so abstract and weird. There's this moment when I was really, really young, I think like 5 years old or something, but it stands out because it was odd. And I was walking to my friend. His last name was Zapatka. Weird last name. I think it was a Russian or something. Like Matt Zapatka or something like that. Mm-hmm. Super cool friend. But yeah, I was really young. I was walking to his house. And I had this experience of, I'm moving my legs to walk, but I don't feel myself walking. I feel like I'm gliding. And it was so surreal in the moment that it like pulled me out of walking. I was like, oh, wait, what, how do I walk again? Because this is, what the fuck? I wasn't even walking. I was like floating. That's how this felt reading it. I wasn't reading. I was experiencing.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
Alex Zapatka. Sorry.
We read a shit ton. I mean, I like literally, I've got 2 books right here that I'm reading. I've got 3 in the front room that are next to my chair that I'm reading. And Audible, like, don't even get me started on Audible. Like, I'm always reading, but it's so rare for that to happen. Like, even if it's something that I've read numerous times, like, I don't always get that moment of where smart brain checks out and it's just the imagination as I'm consuming it. Yeah. So it was a beautiful moment. Like, it happens so rarely that when it does happen, it's like I become emotional because it's just so nice. And like, I mean, shit, we were both talking about it before we hopped on. It's like at the end of this book, man, I'm like in tears because of how fucking amazing it is. And this is a story that I have known pretty much my entire fucking life. Mm-hmm. And it's like I'd never experienced it before until this.
It's fucked up. From the assault on the Death Star when they finally dropped the shield to the very end of the novel, I was trying to read through blurry, teared eyes.
Yeah.
It was literally, and I was like, my concern as I was reading was like, I can't cry on my glasses because I'm like looking down because I won't be able to read if I do that because I can't fucking see anymore.
Well, see, that's why you got to find the proper way to read. Like that's, I use this chair because it reclines. It has a footrest on it.
Nice.
But it's also stiff because it's a gaming chair. So it's just uncomfortable enough to keep my ass awake, but comfortable enough that I can recline it back and just read like this.
Nice. Nice. I'm gonna have to do that because it was rough. There was moments I had to like look up and blink a lot and then get back into it. I felt like it was like never ending story when he had those like moments of pulling away from the book and just going back to reality for a second. Like, what is going on? And then he gets back into it.
I could not have put that better myself. That straight up was like
it was
that.
Awesome.
And like the show with Vader, man. Like,
oh my gosh!
Because it's not like a presto changeo, deathbed repentance Vader.
Yep.
Like it is a progression throughout the battle, and even right before Luke chops his hand off, he's already like, I guess I'm this kid's dad.
Yeah, and he's proud of him.
Yeah,
like,
God. Yeah, like
respect and everything.
I know there's like a lot of it was just internal monologues and stuff. So it's stuff that they couldn't have done on screen because it would not have made sense and it wouldn't have worked. And frankly, probably would have taken everybody out. Yeah. But if they could have got that feeling, it would have been such a stronger ending. Yeah. Like, I mean, of course, everybody loves it because it's a happy ending. You know, the father is saved. The bad guy is gone. Luke is the master now. But this was just a real fucking moment between a father and son finally connecting at the end. And I'm getting choked up right now thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just
I have daddy issues really bad, and it hit home hard. Yeah, and it was great because Vader wasn't just, I mean, like, we had that great connection with him and Luke throughout the entire experience of the last act of the film or of the novel. But there was also like Vader was internalizing who he has become and what got him here and how he's going to try to resolve that. And is he going to be absorbed into the Force? And is he going to ever see Obi-Wan again? And like, we get so much insight into who Vader actually is, who Anakin actually is. It makes it all worthwhile. And it totally makes me believe, yes, he should be redeemed because there is still good in him. Luke was fucking right. And when he got that line finally, after all of that interior dialogue, when he's like, tell your sister you were right, I was just flooding.
God damn.
It was so good.
It was rough.
Oh, it's so fucking good. Oh, you have to read this novel if you like Return of the Jedi, even surface level. It'll change your whole perception of this fucking movie.
It's such a quick read too.
Yeah.
It's so like 100. I think it's like 146 pages. It's not even the longest one out of the trilogy, I don't think. And yeah, man, it's so good.
Yeah. So Chris says, I so wanted to see Luke's progression in live action after Return of the Jedi, but instead we got Herman. Well, we have the EU, and Luke grows, and he's always introspective. He's always full of self-doubt, and he always continues to grow and stuff. His adventures with his son, Ben, I think are some of the greatest.
Dude, like the Fate of the Jedi, I cannot
so good
sing enough praises to that shit. But yeah, it's great. Like, especially with that, because they're just essentially like Luke is fucked off out of the universe. Like, they're like, well, you know, you're a war criminal, so you can just go on your own sanction, like hiatus from the temple and stuff. Yeah. So he's like, okay, I'll just hop in my shit and cruise around and figure out something to do since I can't be here. And then Ben's just like, I'm coming with. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Okay. and then just wacky antics ensue.
It's the greatest.
It really is.
So good. So I guess my purpose of saying that is that we get that. You just have to read for it, but it's worth it. It's totally a valuable journey to go on. You have an argument with a friend who feels that Vader's redemption arc is without merit. They committed too many heinous crimes, but you personally believe that anyone can be redeemed, and he did. So this is the biggest argument with any, sort of like concept of once it was injected what it took to become a Force ghost. Then you have to sort of retroactively think, wait a second, how did Vader do it then? because he did it quickly.
Mm.
Read this novel, and it explains it to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's totally worth it.
Well, the thing is, like, and this is the same argument for religious, or not religious people, but like religion, like the necessity for religion.
Yeah.
Like redemption is in one's own mind and one's own soul. So, yeah, he saw what he did from a different perspective, understood the wrong that he did, and found peace within himself to do that. So, I mean, that's literally redemption right there. It's not like somebody's going to come by and put a little like pin on his lapel saying you are redeemed. No,
Congratulations.
He came to terms with who and what he is, what he's done, and understands. I mean, obviously, like if he had lived, how to essentially get past it and make recommends, or just basically make up for it. So yeah, he absolutely was redeemed, and yeah, like Adam said, read this fucking book, and there's no question that he was redeemed at the end.
Yeah, I would love to see like a what if Vader lived after being redeemed, and it's just Anakin and Luke going off and kicking ass and taking names.
Oh man,
it'd be amazing.
Or like even like the opposite, where Luke does give in and kills the Emperor,
and he did give in this novel.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, and that like this was perfect fucking Luke Skywalker. Like this is the Luke Skywalker that I know and love.
Yeah.
Like he unknowingly goes to the dark side, but it's so seamless, and he embraces it momentarily, and then just has this abrupt stop. Like, what the fuck am I doing? I can't do this. And it's like it's almost like the I'm trying to remember what the novel was. It was with Count Dooku. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's one of the Clone Wars novels, but it's pretty similar to like when Yoda was embracing the dark side, just to kind of prove a point to Dooku that, motherfucker, you act like I've never been tempted.
Yeah,
I'm fucking Yoda. Of course I've been tempted. I'm not going to use it though. I'm beyond that. Yeah, it's.
I love there was a moment when even Sidious in this novel was like, Yoda, there's a Jedi named Yoda. He's been training for years. That's who trained you. Okay. He's like, okay, mad respect. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That was great. Redemption is a matter of individual perspective from a certain point of view. I mean, that's a very Star Wars-y sort of phrasing, but yeah, I mean, that's reality, isn't it? I mean, is there a third party, some sort of like panel you have to appease to become a good human? I mean, the only judge and jury you have is your own sense of existence in life. And if you're not happy with who and what you are, then you need to find a way to get there or live in torment. And that's what Vader was doing. And he finally got to that point where he realized, I did some fucked up shit, but I see where I went wrong, and I see where I am and I need to be. And my son brought me back from the brink of darkness. And it sort of reflects back on stuff like, there's a great film with Robin Williams where he goes to hell to get his wife who killed herself. What Dreams May Come. Kills me every time I watch it.
Yeah, dude, that's
brings her back from hell, like from the torment of her own personal fucking hell. And it's so beautiful and it's so majestic and epic. Like that's the experience that Vader is suffering through his whole existence. He was once a human, and then he became so fractured and like hollow, he didn't even see his own humanity until his son brought it out in him. Like, just think about that. That's a beautiful fucking experience, because we all go through that. We were just talking about how some people don't even recognize other forms of life on this planet as actual forms of life through, veganism or killing plants and stuff. That's literally what it is, though. Like, it's all you have to step out of yourself for just the briefest of moments and realize that you are connected to something so much greater. It's not like a religious, kumbaya thing. And it doesn't even have to be more than just your personal awareness, but it's there. And it's literally a universal connection, not just confined to this rock that's hurling through space around a single sun. It's the existence of the universe itself that you're connected to. Literally, as Neil deGrasse Tyson calls it, you're made of space stuff, of star stuff. Carl Sagan said, he said space stuff, or Anyway.
I mean,
true.
I put it
it's
eloquently as we're all cosmic fart particles. It's all the same. We're all the same.
Yeah. All right. The only last tiny little note I had was that there was a briefest of moments where Luke actually deflected Force lightning.
That was fucking intense. Oh my God. I can't believe that we almost jumped over that.
Yeah.
Like, that is boss as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, it goes to show how far Luke grew and how powerful he actually was. And it gave us a little bit of perspective how powerful Sidious was. Because even though Sidious is afraid of Luke Skywalker in this novel.
Dude, I'm sure even in the movies like that, the subtext is there. But in this, it's straight up there. Like, he wants to turn him because he's fucking terrified of him. And if he can turn him, he can control him. And obviously, if he can control him, he's not going to get killed.
And it really puts Luke into perspective. If someone who can do what the Emperor did is terrified of Luke, how badass is Luke?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, he killed fucking Mace Windu. I mean, obviously not this era, but still, like, he killed one of the most powerful Jedi that's ever lived.
Yeah.
And like, it was nothing. I mean, he got fucked up in the end because of it, but.
And he's afraid of fucking Luke. I mean, that just puts Luke in such a better perspective. You know, just like who George saw Luke to be and who the EU realized Luke to be, which is the fucking badass best. And which is why I'm so upset about the sequel trilogy and how they framed Luke, because it's such anathema to who he actually was as a character. And it spoiled all of the shit he went through to get there.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love this novel. I wish everyone could read this novel. If you're not a Star Wars fan, this novel will make you a Star Wars fan.
100%. This definitely would.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts, or what do you got?
No, man, we got it. We definitely covered everything.
Oh shit, yeah, we got an hour already. Every time we do these, I'm in my head, I'm just like, there's no way we can talk about a film we've seen 1 billion times for an hour.
See, I said that with the first one.
Yeah.
I was nervous as I'm like, we're probably only get like 20, 30 minutes out of it. After the first one being like an hour and a half, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to be able to easily ramble about this shit. Because I mean, hell, we could go like point by point with the entire novel and still not cover everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just.
And it's the novel's so short, which is so funny about it.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. This one felt so much more in depth. It felt longer than the others. And yeah, this is, if I remember correctly, this is probably the shortest of them all.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
Well, I highly recommend, if you haven't read this yet, do yourself a favor. It'll only take you, a few hours if you just sit down and read. To get through. It's totally worth it. You will not regret it, and it'll give you insight into characters that you thought you knew, and it'll make you appreciate them so much more. It's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in, both live in chat or after the fact. We invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the bell to get notified about our next video. Also, you can become a member of the Infernal Brotherhood and even pick up Infernal Brotherhood merch from our online store. So, until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, my fellow scruffy-looking nerve herders, may the Force be with you.
Who are you calling scruffy looking? Yeah, this was a hard one because I couldn't figure out a dumb line to say. There were no dumb lines in this.
Oh, good.